Okay, we are here with Professor Michelle van der Bank from the University of Johannesburg, who's in charge of the... tell us what you do.
Well, firstly, I'm a lecturer at the university, and obviously we all have our research interest, and my interest is systematics. I work on plants, but I'm also very involved in DNA barcoding, and we also the Center for DNA Barcoding in Africa. And yes, it's a passion of me to one day to say that we've barcoded all the plants in South Africa, not me, but all our collaborators in South Africa. We collaborate with many institutes across the country with students. Our students is involved, so yes, hopefully soon we'll have that. At the moment we have all the trees of South Africa barcoded. So
all done.
It was a good, it was a long job, 6 years.
Wow.
It took us to do that, but obviously we visited many interesting places. We started in the Kruger Park, a project in the Kruger Park, barcoded all that trees and then extended to the rest of South Africa. At the moment we're working in Mozambique also, in Zambia, and to Zimbabwe through Toyota actually.
Wow. And tell us the story of how the barcoding started.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting story. Paul Herbert, who's so-called father of DNA barcoding, the story goes that he was in a supermarket buying groceries with his wife, and he was looking at the groceries being scanned, and he said, if it works for, say, a bottle of tomato sauce, why can't it work for a specific species if you use a small portion of the gene? And he then suggested that we use the CO1 gene for animals to barcode the animals. And Dan Jensen, who's a very interesting biologist from Costa Rica, came with a box of skipper butterflies to be barcoded. And at that point they thought it was one species. And after barcoding this, it came out it was actually 10 different species.
Wow.
So this is how everything started in the animal world. But for the plants, we only, I think about two years ago, came up with a barcode for plants. So we use 2 regions. And a region is normally about 600 bases. So it will have the bases, and between 2 different plant species, there would be 1 or 2 differences. And this is how we tell them apart.
Sure.
Hopefully we're still hoping that in the end we have this little gadget as big as a cell phone where we can put in a piece of material and it can tell us what it is. But obviously we needed a reference database for that, and this is what we're busy doing. We're building a reference database.
And this is an international mission now?
Yeah, very much. There's at the moment about 26 countries involved, hundreds of scientists involved in the project, and it's also the only project that I know of that has its own conference, which is amazing. I've been in Australia recently, and there was 200-300 scientists across the world all working on barcoding, of course different organisms. And we're going to China soon for another barcoding conference. So it's all exciting, and I think the exciting part is now the applications. What are we going to do with the data? Because up to now it's documenting, building the reference database, and now we're going to look at things like one of my students is working on traded trees, so he looks at all these wooden locks that comes in, whether it's actually the species that they say it is. Normally they would declare it as an unprotected species, but some of them are really protected species coming through the borders.
Oh, okay.
So you can use barcoding to identify that.
So that's one of the applications?
Yes, that's one of it, and I mean, we all know what recently happened in the meat trade, where they found all these other, like donkey meat into beef products, and that was actually discovered by using barcoding. So
is that so? At Stellenbosch University?
Yes, and I think it was also the University of Western Cape somehow involved with it. But I mean, there's many cases of that. In New York, for instance, there was a school project where the kids went out into little fish markets and they were sampling fish and sushi bars, and they discovered that I think it was something like 40 or 50% of the fish was labeled incorrectly. So they were selling something like a tuna, and they say it was a tuna and it's actually a tilapia, which is much cheaper fish, and they did that also using barcoding.
Okay, so the sky's the limit what you can do with barcoding.
Yeah, I think so, and I think
it's about clarity and transparency,
yes,
is it?
Yes, I think one thing that one also has to remember, technology is going to change, and maybe in 10, 20 years there would be more genes that we're going to use, but we will have the DNA, we will have the samples, so we don't have to collect samples. And what I think is quite exciting is we're getting young people involved. It's you look around here and you see young people on the outreach, and it's like the old explorers. We're going out again, we're going to discover new species, we're documenting what we have, and it's exciting.
Stunning. And a new species was discovered here today.
Yes.
By one of the youngsters,
Yeah, Anthony, he was telling the story, and I think this happens a lot of the time, where you sort of sit and you're having a little break and you just start looking around you and observing what is around you, and suddenly you see something. And when we were in the Kruger Park also, at some point we were really looking for orchids at that point, and we couldn't find any of the terrestrial orchids, and the one guy said, okay, stop, I need a toilet break, and he went out for his toilet break, he came back with the orchid. So sometimes it's just
sometimes you have to stop.
You have to stop.
That's a really important thing.
You can't think that you're just going to scan around. You really have to look for things.
So maybe that's also a good lesson for us to look at what's beneath our feet, because I felt that today. I became so aware of these tiny things that I would normally just walk on.
Yeah.
In fact, I didn't want to walk off the road anymore because I was concerned that I was going to be stepping on stuff, that I should keep my feet out of the veld where the things happen.
Yeah, I think we tend to look up. You look at trees, you look at things that's higher than knee-high.
Yes.
But I think if you start looking
under
your feet, it's like it's an amazing world. I always remember what my master's supervisor said to me. He said, Michelle, if you scratch underneath the surface, everything in life gets exciting, whether it's an ant, whether it's a tree, whatever. So I think this is...
But that all boils down to stopping, hey? I always think that's the message, that we rush past all the most amazing things, and it's all about slowing down nowadays, I think.
I think we have to take time to get back to nature again. So.
And we've got this beautiful bird song accompanying this recording. Thanks so much. It was lovely. Thank you.
Thank you.